to Artfully Askew with Deb, an artist's way of navigating life. Are you overwhelmed and trying to navigate the impossible? Dare to reach beyond your current situation to a place of quiet healing. Discover how art can shine to face life's challenges. Deb offers healing power through art. There's an energy and vibration all around us, a way to get through the pain without doing anything profound. Learn that there is beauty in the fall and the climb back up. Celebrate who you are and understand how incredible it is to let go and let in the flow of color. Artfully Askew with Deb starts now.
Wow. Hey, everybody. I'm Dr. Pat. Look, I have been invited to do this show with Deb Kaufman. And I wanted to say something before we even get started. When you're us here at the Transformation Network and we get to work with some of the most incredible people, it's rare. It's a rare moment that even though all of us here on the team, we're artists kind of, whether it's Colton running the show and doing openers and graphics, or me or Brett, it doesn't matter, or Jessica. It's very, very fun when we're working with artists. And I mean people, if you're looking at the screen now, you're looking behind Deb and you're seeing Deb's art. But what if you're someone that not only understands the beauty of art, multiple forms of art, but you're somebody that has taken the journey of life. And you take this journey of life, right? And here you are, and you go through the ups, the downs, the sideways, and some of her paintings in the background you see there, and maybe some throughout the show. You're going to understand what we're talking about. But if you're someone that takes this journey and understand what it's like to live at different places in the country, you know, settling, whether you start in New York and you settle in the South, that actually is like my childhood right there. I did not go to the South, though. I'm the only one. But when you take this journey and you go through life and you walk into the business world and you take that walk of beauty in the business world, or you walk then and discover that you have an art, that you understand that you're very curious, you're inquisitive, you know, you're questioning. See, that's what she and I have in common, but we don't really talk about it. What happens, though, when you take that walk of questioning? What is it around you? Maybe you don't verbally express it out loud, but maybe you do. Maybe you find some amazing ways to do that. But then what happens when life takes you on a journey? And the journey is tragic at some points. There's so much grief. There's so many things that, and I'm going to say it because I'm human. You guys can email me later. You wish that you could repeat or do a do-over. But what if you emerge from that and you move beyond the fear? What if you emerge from that and you decide that I'm going to discover my true nature and I'm not going to hold back, and I'm going to do it in a way that allows me to be artfully askew? That's the name of this show. That's Deb's show. It's an artist's way of navigating life. See, because when you do this, and this episode is all about finding purpose when there is none. This is such an important story you'll hear from her, but the message tonight is profoundly for everyone. Mm-hmm. You may be looking at me and saying, not you, Dr. P. Diddy. Yeah, me. Because when you say yes to something big and you're going to put yourself out there, you don't know what to expect. You don't know how it's going to be received. You don't know. You don't know. But you know what? Those days are gone for Deb, and here she is. Deb, it is so exciting to be here with you on this journey. Yahoo!
Thank you, Dr. Pat. I'm so excited to be here. This is something that has been coming to fruition for a long time, even though I didn't know it. So it's just an amazing spot to be in right now.
You know, I want to start out because you're going to take us on it's going to take us on a journey. This is what I love about this. You know, I'm wearing a scarf today. I don't knit. I don't do that. But one of our hosts, Trish Smith.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. And so let me just be very clear. When your clients know you in a way that they give you a black and white scarf, hello, and right. And she's like, I went through everything you wear. You wear black and white. And I thought to myself, my gosh, how can I do a show with Deb and be that monotone artist? But let's talk about this because, this episode is finding purpose when there is none.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That
It
could
definitely
be a
is.
movie.
It could be a movie. And it's funny that you say that because I constantly hear that from my sister. You need to write a book or you should have a movie. But I'm not alone in it. I
No.
mean, everyone has their story, right?
Yeah. But I love the way you frame this because, see, you could have called this anything,
Mm-hmm.
but finding purpose when there is none. So many people are coming out of the past 3 years and they are they've given up. They're not quite sure if they'll be able to find their footage. They're trying to get up and go step by step. But, you and I here because we do our best to hold on to a trust and a faith and a belief that this is a benevolent universe that has not brought you and I here just for it to be a cosmic joke.
Right.
Right. So let's talk about this. I mentioned briefly, and certainly your website talks about the pain of your journey. But let's talk about that pain because this show really is about walking through the waters of a painful time, almost like you can feel the storm on the ocean sometimes if you've ever
Mm-hmm.
been on the ocean. And you can feel that, you can feel the fear. But here you are today. What was that like for you to understand what the emotional side of life is like that got you today to here today?
What was it like for me at the moment when I was going through it?
You can pick any point in time you like. You
We
notice
have
how
a
I
couple
left that
hours.
I left that wide open, right?
You sure did. You sure did. Well, we all think that we have a pretty good idea of how we're going to navigate life and that how things are going to go, and we all know that there's going to be bumps along the way, but sometimes those bumps are more than bumps. You are knocked flat on your face, and that's what happened with me. And usually it's not just one thing when you fall that deeply, that far. I had moved miles and miles away, states away from my family, from my support group, from my job, everything. And in the process of that, within a few years, I lost my marriage it'd been a long marriage. And then on top of that, my sister committed suicide, and there were other deaths in the family happening at the same time. My mom had passed away, a very sick sister-in-law, a grandchild that was stillborn. There was just a lot and all at once. So I'm trying to navigate life, and it just came to a standstill. The best way that I could say that is how that felt at that time was I froze. And the reason that I froze was because I felt like if I felt one more thing, I would not survive. So you go into that mode, right? Where you just freeze and you don't feel. And that's pretty much where I was at that time.
Yeah. Boy, I'll tell you, I'm so glad we started out with this because what a great story to share with so many people right now that do not understand that they have a story they need to tell about the past 3 years. Now, look at you and I know this. We talk to a lot of people, and I wish I could start an entire network to give everybody out there, not just the 1% that have websites, but to give people a voice. Because what happens when we keep this all inside, Deb? Now, certainly with what you have behind you, we're going to get to that part of the story. But you also know what it's like to keep it all inside, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I had a lot of fear in expressing myself, not only for fear for myself and that I would have to feel what I felt, but also in being too needy or being too, expressive, especially with a sister that committed suicide. There's a bit of like, how are people going to understand that and that sort of thing. So communicating it was very, very difficult for me. And when I did communicate it, I didn't do it well. So, and people don't want to be a burden. They don't want to feel like they're being a victim or whatever it is, but sharing is so important.
Yeah. Look,
Expressing.
it is. And we're going to kind of get to that because yes, I'm joining you on the show today, but you and I have gotten to know each other,
Yes.
right, over the past months.
Mm-hmm.
I also understand what it's like to have that loss, but we can never really understand each other's depth of personal pain. We can
Right.
have
It's
an
very
association.
personal.
Like how many people have said, "Oh, I've been," no, we haven't been through what you've been through.
No,
But to
no.
look at you right now, and then to look at me, people are shocked when I share my story. But to look at you right now, and to see you just come through, and you're shining, and you're kind of glowing a little bit there. I think you got a little,
I
right,
am.
Colton, right? She's got like a little glow on her head right there, I think. Um,
It's an artist glow.
it's an artist glow. Um, but part of this is trying to step into healing.
Yes.
Let's talk about that,
Yes.
because I can remember the first time somebody said something like that to me. I can't remember which loss it was, but I know that when they said it to me, I just wanted to grab them by the neck, pretty much.
Exactly right. Exactly.
It's a feeling that's hard to describe, isn't it?
It's a very hard feeling to describe, and uh, many just don't, because it is so difficult to describe. And also, like what you spoke about, my story is mine and anyone else's story is theirs. There is no formula or no level. Grief is grief, pain is pain.
Yeah.
So we have to remember that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, expressing it is very, very difficult on so many different levels.
Let's talk about this for a minute, because I know I've been there. I know you've been there. But let's really open this up a little bit if we could,
Sure.
because it's hard for us, right? Both of us sitting here, you know, you with your beautiful art, me with some beautiful pictures of Hawaii in the background. Certainly Colton here running a show. There are raw emotions that show up in grief and loss.
Yes.
And they take us to a very dark place. What was that like for you?
It was confusing. It was extremely painful. It was just a place where there was no forward, there was no future, there was no past, there was no moment in time, not even the present. There just was. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but when time stops like that because you physically and emotionally feel like you can't move, it's a very bleak place. It's hard to describe. It's very, very hard to describe, but it was just, there was nothing, really
There was
nothing. I
nothing.
think it was like maybe a shutdown. I'm
Yeah.
not going to feel anymore, so we'll just
Yeah.
shut down.
Well, let me ask you this question before we go to break, because I want to just share with you. I had someone I knew, and I always looked at her and I thought, it's got to be the happiest person in the world.
Mm,
And then one day I saw a side. Some people say it's your true side. I don't like to label things.
right.
And I said, "Hey, how you doing?" She looked at me and she said, "I'm just killing time until I die."
Ooh, wow.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
No. That was such an authentic statement. It wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
And there are some people, we're watching it now. They cannot stay in this earth skin anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The pain and the grief gets so strong. That was my mom's situation. It's just, there's a point that you get to, if you don't have help, if you don't have angels, that you don't know how you're going to go on, right?
Right. Right.
And I know
Exactly.
that was something similar to you,
Mm-hmm.
of course, before you figured out how to navigate these painful waters, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it took that fall to get there.
That's right. Thank you for using that language. When we take that fall, and I've been there, you've been there.
Mm-hmm.
When we come back from break, did you know at that moment, if you could remember it, did you know, okay, I have hit my bottom, there's only up? Hold that thought. When we
I
come back,
will.
yeah, because I have a couple of mixed emotions on that.
Yeah.
When we come back, we're not only going to talk about Deb, we're going to talk about what does Artfully Askew really mean. This is her fabulous new show. She's got stories to tell about this journey because, as you can see, she is here with us with beautiful art in the background. But what did Deb say yes to? It's not just about navigating the waters for her, it's mastering the ocean. Let's take a short break, everybody. We'll be right back with Artfully Askew. Hey, everybody, welcome back. I'm Dr. Pat, and I am so honored to have been asked to really join in this conversation with Deb. I'm not going to even say it. I'm going to let her tell you about it. But it's not just about doing this show with her. It's both Jessica and I, we've gotten to be part of the sacred journey with Deb. And part of that journey was when somebody entrusts you to take their vision and their dream and then bring it to life in the digital world, it is an enormous responsibility for us. But in doing that with Deb and watching this evolve, and you'll see we're talking about this show, but we're also talking about our beautiful website. But we're also talking about, in my words, Deb, a rebirth. And I want to ask you about this because you know, when you hit a bottom, people say there's no place else to go but up. I don't know who's that logical when they're at their bottom, but let's talk about you for a minute. Were you at a place where things, just everything going around you, it's just nothing's making sense?
Right.
You don't think you're capable of nothing. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh my, and that was this morning for me. But you're thinking about, but you're hitting a point in your life where you're like, what just happened? Have you been there?
I have definitely been there. And when you find yourself there, at least for myself, I just didn't think anything more about how to get up. But I must not have shut down completely. I thought I had, but I must not have, because I did find a way up. And I can't honestly say that I was looking for it. If anything, I was fighting the way, a way up, because I did not want to experience life anymore. I was living, I can't say that I wanted to leave the earth, but I just wanted to get through.
What does that mean? Because that is such a profound statement. I want to stay with that for a minute.
Sure.
Because when you said it, I just wanted to get through. Through what? Through the minute, through the second, through the hour, through the day, through the week, through the month, through the quarter, through the year, right?
You can't think that far when you're in a place like that, though. You just take one step and put it in front of the other, and that is all you have. Initially, people had to tell me to eat, initially. But even once you make it past that, anything that made me feel, I avoided. In any way, shape, or form. Happy, sad, anything. I didn't want to feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Numb.
Look, I think let's talk about that. When you don't want to feel, there's not much else you could do. But when you don't want to feel, you also can get an incredible amount of things done, right?
Oh, exactly. Yes.
Right? But let's talk about that, because there are getting things done that have to do with our passion and purpose. I'm not talking about that, because when I'm maxed out, I do what my grandma taught me to do. I go get my toothbrushes and my little pail, and I get on that kitchen floor, right? I can be on the floor for an hour, but that's what we do. It's not always on our life purpose, right?
Right. It's filling time.
It's like I told you, killing time till you die. It's what she said to me.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you move from that point? How did you get from that place where perhaps you believed everything that was going on, nobody really noticed? I mean, we think that, right? Or if they noticed, they wouldn't say. How did you get to pry yourself up?
Well, that kind of just came to me, actually out of my resistance to pry myself up. I came to a place where I was starting to have a lot of nightmares and things like that, because eventually your mind is going to tell you it's time, right? It is time. You're going to deal with this one way. You can't avoid it forever. And I was having a lot of nightmares and not sleeping well, and I didn't want to sleep, because if I did, I was going to think the main grief was my sister. She was my younger sister, a year and a half younger than me. We were very close. So I didn't want to sleep. So I would wander the house at night and how you can only wash the floor so many times, right? So I just had one night where I was like, I don't want to sleep. I don't know what to do. My son had brought me a canvas and some art supplies.
Really?
Yeah, and he's not artistic really, but he just had them, put them in my closet, it's just one day, right?
Wow.
By circumstance, happenstance, right? But that's not true. It was there on purpose.
Like a little angel,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. So yeah, I decided one evening I'm going to do this, and I picked up the canvas and the paintbrush, and I haven't stopped since.
How long did it take you? If you could remember, how long did it take you to, like, for the light bulb to go on where you said, oh my gosh, I've got paint and stuff in my closet that I can do something with?
Gosh, that's a good question. I'm not really sure. Months, at least
Okay.
months.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you didn't get to it right away.
Oh no, I did
I
not.
love that. I love that part of this story, because what that means is, so you know what he did, as an angel, he brought something in and he planted a seed.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
what I love
definitely.
about that is that you still were able to go on with your healing journey, weren't you?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
What was that next stage like for you as you went from where you were to that moment where you went to the closet? Some people come out of the closet, you went into the closet.
I went into the closet, right? It was a place for me to just center my mind. I mean, I would like to say that first time I created a masterpiece and it was wonderful and beautiful, and that did not happen that way. I started to explore and decided that this is something I may want to do. Art was not something that I did. We do have some incredibly talented people in my family,
Uh-huh.
but it wasn't something that I did. If anything, I never really believed in myself in the art world. Never really thought about it.
Wow.
But it took some time. I started reaching out to some people, which was something I wasn't doing at the time. Hey, I'm thinking about painting. What do you suggest? Things like that. Got myself set up and just started to go. It just seemed like a purpose in the time, something to do that I was drawn to, and I was able to follow that lead, because it definitely was leading me. It wasn't something that I chose. It chose me, and I answered the call.
Yeah. I love the way you describe this, because you describe this as, I think you're referring to your son, that he had dumped him on a shelf.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you didn't give him any thought. But
Mm-mm.
then you went on to say, you found yourself drawn to the canvas. And I love this next part, because we're going to talk about this when we come back from break, because this led to sort of what we're doing today, what you've
Definitely.
created, something
Mhm.
new in art. I believe it's new in art the way you're doing it. And you went on to say, I just love this. You began to paint with no intention or understanding of what you
No
were doing,
intention.
and
Mhm.
you go on to say, boy, haven't we done this? Filling up the long nights, avoiding the nightmares, avoiding the
Mhm.
nightmares, avoiding the nightmares. And this is the part I want to talk about when we come back. You said you didn't think, you only felt the paintbrush,
Right.
what it was showing you. And then your mind began to open in a gentle way. It was safe
It was
to
safe.
heal, safe to heal through colors,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Exactly.
Mm. Let's take a short break. When we come back, what a beautiful road this is. It's also a message for all of you to know that no matter what you're going through, we certainly can't be in your shoes. But what we
Right.
can do is say to you, there's a way for you to move through it. When we come back, you're going to hear what happened when Deb put the paint to the canvas. The color showed up, and what she's doing today. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. What a great journey. You're healing all about what this was like for Deb Kaufman, but more importantly, how Artfully Askew was born. And that's what today's show is. But it's so much more than that. Why don't you give everybody your website right now, Deb? Because that is part of this next part of the journey, isn't it?
It is, and it's a must-see website, even though I'm a little personal to it. It is beautiful. So you can reach me at artfullyaskew.com.
And you're going to hear lots more about this as the weeks go on. I want to go to this place that I think a lot of us can relate to. It's that place that we find ourselves where perhaps the voices stop, perhaps the glimpses of fear stop, perhaps the feeling of pain may stop. Do you believe that people can reach such a place of healing, Deb? Just like you did. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I know. I know they can, because it's happened with me, with people in the past. Once I realized what the paint and the canvas was doing for me, after I got to my place where I was in a good spot in my healing, I started sharing it with others, and I saw that transformation in them also. So an idea of how that worked for me was I picked up the canvas, I picked up the paintbrush, knew nothing about it, and just got some videos out and started painting, right? But what I didn't realize was happening was my mind was starting to open up and process the things that was happening while I was painting. It was a safe place for me to do it. I could look at the color blue and be reminded, oh, that's my sister's colors, her eyes are that color, and think about my sister in a more positive way in remembrance, and just process some of the things that I needed to remember about her.
Wow.
And through her. Every painting that I do, I feel like my sister is with me.
Yes.
So that is what
Yes.
it did for me, and so my mind would be working, I say quite often, behind the scenes, behind the color, behind the canvas, behind the paintbrush. But honestly, it's really up front, right? So I'm looking at what does this color do? Does it need to be transparent? Those things. And I am making associations in my mind. Okay, this reminds me of a time when, or this makes me think about something else that I've had a hard time processing. But because I'm working and I'm looking at it in a safe way, I'm able to process it.
So let me ask you about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to describe this. I think
Yeah.
I have a friend, certainly you're going to be hearing from him in some shows. He's a new host with us now. And he talks about this place that most athletes, let's just say, experience, right? They call it the Zone. He is the founder of an incredible coaching platform, Zone Coach, right? But they talk about this when you have people like athletes or business people. But here we're talking about art, we're talking about emotional healing. Now, I don't want to say he doesn't talk about that too, he does. But in your case, what you're creating, you have called it, if I may, not intuitive art. I want to be very clear, that's different. Intuition art. And the reason I'm bringing that up is it's just two reasons. One, because you're going to be working with people through the process that you used. And it is this place where we get to where time stands still. Is that a good way to describe it? When we're doing this painting, or even like I told you, cleaning the floor with a toothbrush, it's as if time is not our enemy anymore.
Right.
It's our ally. Can you talk to that about what happens when you're literally engaged in your art?
The zone is a really accurate way of saying it. When I am truly in my art, and it doesn't take long if I allow it to happen. because it's calling. It really is. Like I say, things are going in the background in my mind, but I'm not really feeling busy in it. I'm feeling quietly calm in it. And there's a huge difference in that, because when you're calm and you're quiet,
Yeah.
you can make it through and think about the things that are coming up front and not even realize it. You can see, like I say on my website, the beauty of the fall, because there is so much beauty in the fall. There is so much that the paintbrush can offer and the color can offer to you, just in that transformation of going from chaos, I can't think about it, it hurts too much, to I'm just creating, and that quiet calm comes over you. Before you know it, it's a conversation. So the way that I work with others to share this with others, because it's profound. I mean, it's huge what it can do for people. I either work with them where they're painting and a conversation starts. But it's their conversation. It's not mine. It's not my mind. So I may ask a question here and there or make a suggestion. There's times when somebody will be painting and they'll be like, oh, this is all wrong now, because they've made that shift. They went from grief to healing. And so we'll wipe the slate clean. We'll either erase the palette or we'll erase the canvas and we'll start over. There's just, the flow gets there. They know what they need to do, what needs to process through, and in what manner. And if not, I'm just there to guide it a little bit and get it going. But that's how it worked for me and so many others. Sometimes I'll do a painting for someone, and I will just be thinking about them and things will come to my mind and I'll take notes or whatever and send it to them. It means nothing to me. Or sometimes it'll be an image that I'm like, why am I painting this? But when I show it to them, they're like, wow, it means something to them. So it's just a channel of quiet, calm, and healing.
Yeah. What just hit me about this was that, I thought about this and I realized that the different points of pain and grief really opened me up in my life. Now, I didn't realize it at the time, but I think the universe had a plan for me and I was never going to get there if I stayed closed up. But there's, something you described is like you started now, just like you said, you started to reach out to other people and you started to be in service of them.
Yes.
See?
Yeah.
You were in service of them. And talked about what came to you, the paintings. Your eyes were opened at that point now to something new, right?
Exactly. I had a couple paintings in the beginning that really opened me up to this and what was actually happening. And one of them is on my website. I should have looked at the name of it, but it's a silhouette of a family, brothers and a sister. I asked someone, I didn't know why. I asked them, can I paint your family? I knew them somewhat, but not real well. In the process of doing the painting, I spoke with mom and the family. I wanted to paint their kids, their children. And she talked about a miscarriage that she felt like no one had really acknowledged that was not a child. To people, it was a miscarriage. And to her, that was profound pain and grief. And dad was the same way. So I did a simple thing, didn't tell them I was doing it. I put a balloon in the daughter's hand in the painting. When they saw that painting, I didn't have to explain it to them. They knew what that was immediately and just started crying. Those are the things that come out when you're just open to that channel.
Yeah. And did you find that with that experience that everyone involved, you, the family, became open to a different conversation, a healing conversation, maybe?
Exactly. Mom and dad did, but not only mom and dad, the kids did too. When they came in and they saw the painting, it started a conversation that I actually stepped out of because it was their time. It was their family time. And it just created that healing space that they needed.
Yeah. Was this the point? Let's just call it a major point where you discovered this was intuition. This was intuition art. this was not intuitive art. That's very different.
Right.
But this was a sense of the energy of intuition between multiple bodies, multiple energies here on the planet, but also multiple energies,
Yeah.
of the, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that came together. What I also love about this is that's a bold move. See, that's how you know you're following your passion and your heart.
Yeah.
When you're so clear about creating a balloon and putting it in that child's hand, that is such a point of clarity that gets transmuted from, I'm going to say whomever, right, through you to the canvas.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's a bold move, but it's it's boldly quiet. I don't think about it. I just do what the canvas is telling me it wants,
Yeah.
And one of the things that's important to me when I do paintings or I have someone paint with me is to have that conversation before. It doesn't have to be about a certain subject. It's just to make that connection and know that there is a connection there. I don't think I've ever not made a connection, but I need to know that it's there.
Yeah. See, what I love about this is that we all have abilities to do different things at different times.
Mm-hmm.
But you follow the pathway of discovery. See, we don't talk about that enough when we're talking about art or when we're talking about things like that we do. People see an end game, so to speak. What do I mean by an end game? They'll see the paintings behind you.
Right.
But the show is about talking about the paintings, but the story of the paintings behind you.
Right.
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 And you pointed out to me that you just added a new one, which probably we'll talk about in an upcoming show. But each of them has a certain navigational path.
Yes.
Now, I know in upcoming shows, people go to your website, Artfully Askew, what they'll find is Shipwreck.
Yes.
And you'll be able to read about that, which is still in progress, correct?
It's up and running. Shipwreck is up. The whole thing. Well, I have one more painting to finish, but I'm not feeling the call to do it yet. I think there may be connections that need to happen, right?
No,
I know it's meant to.
I know. So one of the things that I love about this is I like to call them a progressive conversation. That's what your show is. That's what art is. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, the question that you now ask and are asking on this show is, are you ready? All of us, everybody here, are we ready to unleash the potential inside of us? And that is such a powerful question, because the remedy just may be intuition art that allows us to express in a way that shows us the path to freedom. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Deb's going to take us on the journey of receiving these healing connections. What does that look like? Where did she go from that point, that one of the first paintings, to where she is today and what she's about to release her own potential to the world about? Let's take a short break. Colton, we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's so great. Listen, I am Dr. Pat. Nope, you're not making a mistake. I'm honored to have been asked to take this journey with Deb. Her show, this is the debut show, is Artfully Askew with Deb. It's an artist's way of navigating life. And this introductory episode is about finding purpose when there is none, right? This is what we're talking about. And so often we don't get to hear the stories that get people on the pathway they're on. We don't often take the time to understand that there is a way to navigate life. That's what Deb has opened the door up for us for today. Again, artfullyaskew.com is a website. Colton has been showing you that throughout the show if you're watching it. In future shows, you're going to hear now from Deb what her vision is, how it's coming to life, what she's planning And again, you have to know when you ask an artist what they're planning, they may change their mind, right, Deb?
Right. That's our prerogative.
So let's talk about this question. Are you ready to unleash the potential of you? Because you had to face that question for yourself, and that's why you're here. You're not
Mhm.
just doing paintings, you're on a show, you're in front of us. And you have a very let's just say fairly clear vision of what you want to do, but it has to do with everything we just talked about, doesn't it?
Right. It really does. So an artist's journey is often about discovering yourself and realizing your potential and what you can do, the reaction, the aha moments from the people. And I had all of that, right? I had many people, family and friends saying, you really need to sell your art. You really need to get out there. You really need to promote it. But I resisted. And in honesty, I think at the beginning it was like, well, my art's not that great, like whatever. Well, we all go through that, right?
Yeah, we do.
But I not only resisted, I took action. So the first thing that I did was insist that I do have talent in this. I do have there is something there. I'm dedicating time to this. So, okay, I'm not going to be available. Every day I will paint. Every day I will create. That was a healing place for me, but it was also a learning journey for me. It was time to take action on it. But I didn't do the traditional route where try to sell my paintings, blah, blah, blah. I did a little bit of that, didn't do great with it because it wasn't what art was doing for me. It wasn't the calling that art was giving me. So I just waited. I just waited and continued to do what I did and shared with people what art could do with them. And then in coming to the Transformation Network and understanding the journey and how important that is and what the journey is doing, not only for myself, but for others, I'm like, I don't need to be out there. Obviously, I'll sell my paintings, right? Because I want people to have them on their walls and enjoy them and smile. But there's so much more to that. I started to realize there are other people that could use a place to receive their healing or open up a path for their healing, or even just find that quiet calm they've been looking for forever.
Yeah.
That's the calling that I have. So that's when I stepped into, we need to really look at this, aligned with you and how we were going to do this, started having a conversation about it and realized that it's profound what I have to offer. And it's in a place of unique honesty. You know what I mean? Like it's just who I am. I was
I do.
created stepping
Yeah.
into purpose to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up here. Yes, I have a website. My art is going to get out there, but it's getting out there with the purpose it was created for. And that's the
and a
difference.
story.
And a story. I
story.
mean, yes,
Yeah.
every painting I do, just about every painting, every painting I do has a story behind it. And
Yeah.
that's what I want to bring to this show is, why do I paint this? Because my story is not so unique in maybe in the events sometimes, maybe not, but in the emotional side of it. We all have our stories. I can share my story through painting, and you can share your story through reaching out about that painting. There's so many places this can go.
Yeah. And I love, one of the things, if I could say, is one of the things we're thinking about is in future shows to literally either have people in studio with you go through a process, or now that we have, remote and Zoom, there's so many tools that we can have someone that is in their own studio with their own painting working with you here and go through this process with you and have the audience see that. That's like totally amazing, I think.
I think so too. If COVID taught us nothing, it taught us that we can connect.
Yeah, boy.
Right. We may not be able to be in the same room, but there still is a connection. So, yeah. And actually it's such a broader connection when you really step into it. So
You
Yeah.
know, you're so right about that. I mean, there's so many things that COVID opened up. First of all, COVID broke the doors down of any of the 12-step programs that totally forbid any of the online. And
Yeah.
that genie is
That's true,
not
isn't
going
it?
back in the bottle.
Yeah.
Yes, but don't you remember, or at least for me, I remember being by myself for one of the holidays, and then we all got on like a Zoom, like I can't remember, like 15 or 20 people, each of us in our own place, eating our own version of turkey. I mean,
Nice.
but you're right about that. I can't help but think of how that may also have inspired you to think
Oh.
in a much more
Mhm.
expansive way about this. What do you think?
Mhm. Oh, definitely did. I mean, I was looking at it from the traditional artist point of view, what do? You put a painting up, you talk about it, you have a story with it. All wonderful, all great. We all have stories, and that's perfect, But I had something more behind it, and I just wasn't sure how to express it.
Mhm. Okay,
So,
I'm
yeah.
going to put you on the spot for a minute.
Oh,
We've got a few
uh-oh.
minutes to do you to talk about it because before we came on, you pointed to your the behind you, and you said that's new.
Yes.
Okay, we can save the whole discussion for another show, but I'm curious about it, and I want to know whatever you're willing to share, as mysterious as it may be. What was calling to you when you were painting it? Give us a little sneak peek about it, if you don't mind.
Well, I would like to say that originally I was painting it because of the moon phases, the snow moon, February,
Oh,
and it was. That's so true. The message that came out of it was maybe not completely different. New beginnings, new moon.
yeah.
That's the message that came out of it in a little different twist to it than I expected. I'll share it another time.
Yes, because on the 5th, on February 5th, it wasn't just about this, it was a special moon on the 5th, but it was the green comet. It was also the
Yes.
interaction of the
Mhm.
green comet. And supposedly, according to people, experts, on that night with the full moon, and then of course it's full for a short period of time and then we move, right?
Right.
But it was going to be the night by which you might be able to see the green comet the easiest.
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
green comet stands for abundance, then you have the
Yeah.
full moon and then you have the new moons. So it was I'm not surprised that you were called to do it, and I can't wait to hear more on an upcoming
Well,
show.
that's the hint in it. I added gold.
Good idea. Very good
Did
idea.
not know why, but yeah.
Very good idea. And it's interesting, especially about gold. I mean, there are some people that don't consider gold, let me just say it out loud, a color. But if you came
Right.
into my house, you would see it in so many places, right? It's just something sometimes we're drawn to. Look, thank you for today. Thank you for sharing this.
You.
There's been so much here. I want to just ask you, as we move forward, we see so many smiles. I
Mm.
don't care if it's a kid that has a paintbrush or an adult.
Mhm.
It's something that happens to people on the inside and out.
Yes.
Um, this has been a beautiful journey you took us on tonight, and we're going to find out what's coming. But I would love to know, and thank you for tonight. There's a
Thank you.
personal message I'm sure you want to leave us with. Please let everybody know what that is, Deb.
The personal message. The personal message would be, it doesn't have to be profound. Wherever you find yourself, there is beauty in the fall. There really, really is. And there are people that have been there that are willing to help you to stand up in it. And it doesn't have to be a yell at the top of your lungs. Sometimes when people come to you and they say something and you're like, okay, that's a challenge. You don't need to accept the challenge. You just need to quietly get up and find a safe place to be able to find your voice again. And that's what this has done. And I can help you to find it if you want.
Thank you. Again, tell people how they can contact you, how they can reach out to you. there may be some people that want to be part of upcoming shows. What is the best way for them to do that, Deb?
That would be go to my website or just go go to my website, artfullyaskew.com. And there's an email link there, and you can email me and I will definitely answer you back, and we'll start a conversation, because that's what starts everything, doesn't it? Conversations.
Yep. Artfully Askew, everybody. More to come from Deb. And as we said before, please, if you are at a point where healing would be your pathway to freedom, please get a hold of Deb. Deb, thank you so much for sharing your
you.
journey and your courage tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Dr.
Yeah.
Pat.
And Colton, thank you for pushing all the right buttons and doing what you do.
Thank you, Colton.
And I want to thank you for being the best audience on the planet. I've been saying it for 20 years and I haven't changed my mind, because you are amazing. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you for tuning in to Artfully Askew with Deb, an artist's way of navigating life on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Listen or watch live every first Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time. Join Deb as she gives hope and shares how to navigate life's challenges by understanding how incredible it is to let go and let in the flow of color. You are not alone. Life is about connection, and art is always with us. Come as you are to a place of quiet healing. For more information about Artfully Askew with Deb, an artist's way of navigating life, visit artfullyaskew.com.